Finally, something better than exhaust and the stench of the city. Don't tell me you don't feel it too.
What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC Gaming here to give you guys my thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox Series X, the next-gen version. Full disclosure, we were provided a review code by the publisher for the purpose of this review. Now, I recently reviewed the PC version of this game following the massive patch, and if you want to check that out, the link's in the comments and the description. But this is my first time playing Cyberpunk on the console, on a next-gen console, and well, let's dive in. First of all, if you don't know CD Projekt Red, they're the company behind Witcher 3, and yes, they're the company behind Cyberpunk, which was heavily criticized a couple years ago for its release because, well, the game did not seem to be ready for prime time, even on PC with my high-powered graphics card. On PC, I found the game to be a bit clunky, it seemed awkward when you move through crowds or driving, and on Xbox Series X, it's actually pretty damn smooth. So far, so good. In terms of the gameplay itself, pretty similar to the PC, especially if you're like me and you play on an Xbox Series X controller. You get a brand new car or two or three, and you can even customize outfits. Now, you might be wondering, I've heard about this game, I've heard about the glitches, I don't know what the hell's going on. Here's your explanation without giving too much away. So, Cyberpunk 2077 takes place in Night City, a vibrant, a busy, but a dark city. It is really interesting, a lot going on, a lot busier than some other open world games when it comes to cities and scenarios, but I really like it. It's got its own aesthetic, it's got its own vibe. It can be dark, it could be your best friend, and it could be everything in between. As for the main character, you play as V, either as a male or female character. You could fully customize them, and you can play as either a corpo, an ex-corporate worker who becomes a snitch/rat. You could be a nomad where you're used to traveling and not having one home, or a street kid who knows their way around the gangsters. In whichever path you choose, you have an opportunity of a lifetime, a heist of a lifetime. You complete this heist, your fortunes are turned around forever. But if you fail, things get messy. And minor spoiler alert, things do get messy. At some point, you interact, you get linked inextricably, literally, with a terrorist/rock star/rebel by the name of Johnny Silverhand, aka Keanu Reeves. The incredible Keanu Reeves voices Johnny Silverhand. I'm sure you saw him in all the posters, all the promotions, on stage, all that jazz. But keep in mind, you don't run into Johnny Silverhand until a few hours into the game. So at the beginning of the game, of course, you got your tutorials, your backstory for whichever path you choose, a whole lot of dialogue, you complete a couple missions here and there, and then eventually you get to meet Johnny. And without giving too much away again, you and Johnny are going to stand up to the man. Or are you? What's Johnny's endgame? Do you survive all this? Does Johnny survive all this? That all occurs later in the game, and that's when things really get turned up a notch and pretty damn interesting. Now, keep in mind, any of these paths will alter some dialogue, but the general narrative remains. The major leagues, baby! Or so you thought. Now, Johnny Silverhand, well, he might hate you, he might hate himself, but he especially hates the man, Arasakas. In terms of some of the features you may not know about, well, you have, of course, your use of guns, your use of frag grenades, your use of stealth, but you can also do some hacking. That's right, you could short-circuit somebody, hack camera controls, distract enemies, among other things. In retrospect, I kind of wish I leveled up my hacking skills more because I feel like that's a more fun and clever way to play the game than it is just shooting somebody in the face. Well, sometimes things get messy and you have to shoot them in the face, but you know what I'm saying. As for some of the other aspects of the game, you do have a part of the game called Brain Dance, which can get a little annoying, but it is unique, where you go back in time into somebody's memory chip, and you could essentially look for clues and various scenarios and piece them together virtually before you start a mission. So that's interesting as well. There is a lot of dialogue in this game. A lot of the choices, of course, will dictate the outcome of the story. There's multiple endings, multiple romantic partners, multiple romantic scenarios, especially now with the latest patch, and that's pretty cool. So if you're interested in the talking and the lore of Cyberpunk, you're in luck. If you're somebody that wants more action, I'm not saying you won't get it, I'm just saying there is a lot of talking in between, which I personally enjoyed. I would strongly recommend everybody to do not just the main story and try to speedrun it or anything like that, but enjoy the side quests. Do them not just to level up your character, but to learn more about all these characters, including yours, that you interact with. That's the one thing I kind of wish I did going back in time with my first playthrough that I've been able to do with this one right here on Series X. But enough of all that. What's the verdict? Graphically, I give Cyberpunk 2077 on Series X a 9 out of 10. This game did not have the frame rate issues that I had with PC, believe it or not, and it looks pretty damn good. Now, things do get a little awkward when moving around. It just kind of feels weird with the game, which we'll get to in the gameplay section, but aesthetically, just a gorgeous looking game. You look at the faces, the details, and the outfits and everything else. Night City is just so busy. You really notice the detail during the dialogue scenes and the cutscenes as well. And yeah, I think they did a great job here with the next-gen version. Content, I give Cyberpunk 2077 a 9 out of 10, the same rating I gave it on PC. Where Cyberpunk truly shines, whether you like the gameplay and the mechanics or not, is the story. So many memorable freaking characters. V, Johnny Silverhand, Rogue, Dexter Deshawn, Pan Am Palmer. The list goes on and on. The Arasakas. Just awesome. I really feel like this is a story that feels like you're playing in a live-action Netflix series or HBO Max series or whatever the case may be. And I think there is so much potential for these characters, man. I think one day we will get a live-action series. Maybe we'll get a sequel. Hopefully we'll get some more DLC as originally promised. But, man, I love these characters, and that's why I strongly encourage you to play the whole game. Don't just breeze through the main story. Be a completionist. I guarantee you, you won't regret it. Gameplay, I give Cyberpunk 2077 a 7 out of 10. Nothing earth-shattering, but I thought it was better than PC. I feel like with PC is very clunky, and while the gameplay is clunky on console as well, I just feel like overall it's just a smoother experience with next gen. Unfortunately, with PC, while I did enjoy my experience, I had to go through a lot of troubleshooting at times. I had to restart it. Of course, you had all the infamous patches, including ones that would often crash the game. And with Xbox Series X, I was able to just turn it on, and it worked. And it just makes me wish that CD Projekt Red took a little bit more time, say a year, to actually release this game fully rather than put it out there, get all the criticism, pull it off stores, get all these refunds. It was just so much runaround that could have been avoided if they were just a little bit more patient. And I'm sure the game still would have sold millions of copies, but if you are somebody buying this for the first time, or maybe buying this for a second time and hope for a much smoother experience, I'm happy to report that is the case. But unfortunately, it doesn't totally live up to the hype when it comes to gameplay, but it's nothing that I think is totally going to detract you from enjoying it. Overall, TSC Gaming gives Cyberpunk 2077 Next Gen on Xbox Series X an 8 out of 10. This is a fantastic game, even with my gameplay issues aside. But man, I really, really wish we got this version from the get-go. That being said, I would strongly recommend buying this game, especially if you could get it on sale. Really good stuff here, and hey, I cannot wait for some more Cyberpunk content. Hopefully, we won't have to wait another year and a half to get it and to get it working smoothly. If you enjoyed this review, please like, share, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more updates like this. If you'd like to buy Cyberpunk, just click the link in the description. Full disclosure, we do get a small cut from your purchase. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the games and stay safe in Night City, especially when you're around Arasaka.
Now you're flat. Don't look in any condition to find Helmet.